I still remember that night vividly. The moment when my world started to crumble right in front of me. We were at this corporate event for my wife, Emily. It was one of those evenings filled with pointless small talk, forced laughs, and way too many drinks. But things took a turn just as we were about to leave. That's when I noticed a guy, Michael, one of her colleagues. He had this smug grin on his face, like he knew something I didn't. And before I could think twice, I swung at him. One clean punch straight to his jaw. For a brief second, time seemed to stop, and then all hell broke loose. People rushed in, some checking on him, others glaring at me like I was the bad guy. But I didn't care about them or their judgment. I only cared about one thing, the truth. And it was written all over Michael's face. He'd been with my wife. The way he looked at me, that cocky little smile, it told me everything. Emily, of course, lost it. She was screaming over the noise around us. "What the hell, Adam? Why did you hit him?" I kept my voice as calm as I could, but inside, I was boiling. "Because he's been sleeping with you, Emily. Isn't that enough of a reason?" She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "What? He didn't even say a word to you?" "He didn't need to," I snapped. "I've known for weeks. I just didn't know it was him." Her face was a mix of shock, anger, and tears. "I can't believe you're accusing me of this." "Oh, believe it," I said, grabbing her arm and dragging her out onto the balcony. I needed to get away from all the stares, from all the whispers. The cool night air did nothing to cool my rage. "Tell me, Emily, how long has this been going on?" She didn't say anything. She just stood there, staring at me with wide eyes. Her silence was all I needed. In that moment, I knew it was over. Whatever we had was gone, shattered beyond repair. But I still needed to hear her say it. My heart was racing, but I tried to keep my voice steady. Emily wiped her face, trying to pull herself together, but the tears kept falling. "You're making this worse, Adam," she shouted, her voice cracking. I wasn't going to let her play the victim. "Just tell me the truth, Emily. How long have you been seeing him?" Her lips trembled as she stammered, I haven't been with him. I would never do that to you. I'd had enough of the lies. Stop pretending. Do you think I haven't noticed? The way you've been acting these past few weeks? You really thought I was blind?" I didn't want to believe it, but here we are. Emily broke down, her words coming out as sobs mixed with desperate denials. "I'm not lying. You're paranoid. I love you, Adam. I wouldn't. I couldn't." I shook my head, pulling out a cigar from my pocket. It was the same one she'd bought me for my last birthday. Back then, it was a symbol of our connection, or at least I thought it was. Now, it felt like a cruel joke, a reminder of just how blind I'd been. I sat down next to her, lighting the cigar, letting her cry beside me. I wasn't moved by her tears anymore. "Emily, I've been putting the pieces together for weeks. All the little things you say when we're with our friends, the jokes you make about me behind my back, the casual remarks that seem harmless. I didn't catch it at first, but those jokes? They weren't innocent. You were testing the waters, trying to get everyone on your side before you left me." She looked confused, her eyes red and swollen. "What are you talking about? They were just jokes, Adam. I didn't mean any of it." I let out a bitter laugh. "Right. It was all fun and games until it wasn't. You think I didn't notice the way you laughed with your friends, making stories about how I snore too loud or how I never do enough around the house. It's like you were laying the groundwork, getting ready to paint me as the bad guy so you could walk away guilt-free." "I never meant it like that," she mumbled, still sobbing. I sighed, feeling the weight of her betrayal sink deeper into me. "Emily, the truth is out now. You've been seeing him, haven't you? You've been with Michael, and now you've got to own up to it." Her silence spoke louder than any words she could have said. We sat in silence for what felt like hours, even though it was probably just a few minutes. The party was still going strong inside, the noise spilling out onto the balcony, but it felt distant, like it belonged to a different world. My world, the one I knew, was collapsing right in front of me, and there was no escaping it. Emily sat slumped in that metal chair, the same one she had been laughing from earlier in the night. Now, she looked completely defeated. "Adam, I never wanted it to end like this." "Well, it did," I replied coldly, blowing smoke from the cigar into the night air. And you're the one who made it end this way. She shook her head slowly, her hands trembling as she wiped at her tears. It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't plan any of this. I don't even know how it got this far. I leaned forward, staring straight into her eyes. Then tell me how it happened, Emily. Walk me through it. How did you go from being my wife to being with him? Did it start with just a friendly chat that went too far? Or were there weeks of flirting, late-night texts, and secret moments? I need to know. She flinched at the word mistress, like it cut her deeper than anything else I could have said. But I wasn't going to let her get off easy. I needed her to admit it. I needed to hear her say it out loud, no matter how much it tore me apart. I don't know, Adam, she whispered. It started small. At first, it was just harmless conversation. He was easy to talk to, and I didn't think it would go anywhere. And yet, here we are, I shot back. So clearly, it went somewhere. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper now. It only happened once at first. I felt horrible about it, but once I crossed that line, I couldn't stop. I was already guilty, so why bother pretending I could fix it? Hearing those words was like a punch to the gut. I'd had my suspicions for weeks, but hearing her admit it out loud made it real in a way I hadn't fully prepared for. So, you just kept doing it, I said flatly. My voice was emotionless now, drained. You figured, I've already cheated, might as well keep going, right? She nodded again, guilt etched across her face. I didn't know how to stop. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't face you. I didn't know how to tell you. And Michael, he didn't mean anything, not really. I didn't even care about him. Yet, you threw everything away for him, I replied bitterly. You risked our marriage, our life together, and for what? A guy who doesn't even matter to you. Emily broke down in sobs, her hands covering her face. But by then, I was numb. Her tears didn't stir anything in me anymore. I couldn't feel sorry for her, not after everything. The cold air outside seemed to sharpen everything, making it all too real. I sat there, puffing on the cigar she had given me for my birthday, watching Emily fall apart in front of me. It was strange. I always thought if I ever faced something like this, I'd be filled with rage, but right then, all I felt was emptiness. Just this dull, hollow ache that I knew wouldn't go away for a long time. So, what now? I asked, not really expecting any answers from her. Are you going to run off with him, or are you just going to keep dragging me along for a while longer? Emily wiped her face again, her eyes swollen from crying. I don't want to be with him, Adam. I never did. He was just... I don't even know how to explain it. I was confused, and he was there. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. Confused? That's your excuse? You think that makes it any better? You still did it, Emily. You still chose him over me. I didn't choose him, she whispered. I just wanted to escape. I felt trapped, like my whole life was planned out without me having a say. Our marriage, our daughter, our future, it all felt like something I had to live through, not something I wanted anymore. Her words hit me harder than I expected. This wasn't just about the cheating. She wasn't just admitting to the affair. She was telling me that she didn't want the life we had built together. And worse, it seemed like she had felt this way for a long time, maybe even longer than I realized. Trapped? I asked, disbelief in my voice. Emily, I've given you everything. Freedom, love, support. You've had it all. How could you feel trapped? She looked down at her hands, avoiding my eyes. I didn't mean it like that. I don't know how to explain it. It's not your fault. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. Then whose fault is it, Emily? Because it sure as hell isn't mine. I didn't make you cheat. I didn't make you lie. That was all you. She finally met my gaze, her eyes filled with regret. I know. I'm sorry, Adam. I really am. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said quietly. Sorry doesn't erase what you've done. It doesn't bring back the trust or the love we had. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to go back to the way it was. She nodded, fully aware that her apologies couldn't undo the damage. I know. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know how to make this right. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of it all. There was no fixing this. She had broken us, destroyed everything we had with one selfish decision. And now, here we were, sitting in the ruins, trying to figure out what came next. As we sat there, it started to sink in for both of us. There was no way to undo this, no way to turn back the clock and fix what had been broken. Emily wiped her face again, struggling to find the right words, but I knew there wasn't anything she could say that would make things better. "I never meant for any of this to happen," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I was scared of losing everything, but I guess I've lost it all anyway." "Yeah, Emily, you did," I replied coldly. "You've lost me, and now we have to figure out how to untangle our lives. We have to explain this to our daughter." That was the part that hurt the most. Our little girl, Lily, had no idea what was happening. She was just 3 years old, innocent and unaware that her mom had destroyed our family. How was I supposed to tell her that her parents weren't going to be together anymore? "I'll always love Lily," Emily said, like it was supposed to be some kind of consolation. "I know I messed up, but I'll still be there for her." "Will you?" I asked, the bitterness creeping back into my voice. "Because you weren't thinking about her when you cheated. You weren't thinking about her when you were lying to me. You were only thinking about yourself." Emily looked away, her hands twisting in her lap. "I'll make it right with her, Adam. I swear." I didn't know how she planned to do that, but one thing was clear: Lily deserved better. And if Emily couldn't be the mother she needed, then I'd make damn sure I was the father she deserved. "You wanted your freedom, Emily?" I asked, my voice hard and final. "Well, here it is. I'm done. You don't have to be with me anymore. You can have the freedom you wanted so badly." Her face crumpled as the tears started again, but I didn't feel sorry for her anymore. I had nothing left to give. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. I stood up from the chair, my legs stiff, but my mind was clear. "I'm leaving," I said, brushing off my pants. "You can stay here and deal with the fallout, with your colleagues and your reputation. They'll probably hear about what happened tonight, if they haven't already." She flinched, knowing it wasn't just our marriage that was over. Her career, the one she had worked so hard for, might be in jeopardy too. But at that point, I didn't care. She had dug this hole herself. "Adam, please," she started, but I cut her off with a wave of my hand. "No, Emily. I'm done. You've said all you needed to say, and I've heard enough. I'm taking Lily, and I'm filing for divorce. I'm not going to drag this out or fight with you over it. This is it. We're finished." She nodded, utterly defeated. "I understand." Without another word, I walked away, leaving her sitting there, broken and alone, just like she had feared. Maybe that was the worst punishment I could give her, letting her have the freedom she claimed she wanted. She had destroyed our family, and now she would have to live with that. As I stepped back inside, the noise of the party hit me like a wall, but it felt distant, almost like it was happening in another universe. My life had changed in an instant, and I knew it would never be the same again. From now on, I was starting over. Not just as a man, but as a father, raising Lily on my own. I didn't know how I'd manage, but I knew one thing. I'd make sure my daughter had the love and stability she needed, even if Emily couldn't give it to her. The cops showed up not long after, but by then, I was calm, ready to face whatever was coming next. Emily bailed me out the following morning, but that was the last time I saw her. The divorce went through quietly, and she faded out of my life like a bad memory. In the end, it wasn't just the betrayal that hurt the most, it was realizing how little she valued the life we had built together. But through all of this, I learned something about myself. I could survive this. I could pick up the pieces and move forward, even if it was without her. Lily became my world, and we found our way to a new normal. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And as for Emily, well, she got what she wanted, her freedom. But as I learned, freedom always comes at a cost, and I made sure she paid the price. That's how it ended, a punch, a confession, and a broken marriage. It wasn't the life I planned, but maybe it was the life I needed to see things clearly. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep two people together. And sometimes, walking away is the best thing you can do. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.